Hello there, and welcome back to War Thunder, and welcome to the Duck Talks number 62, to the topic Let Them Fight. And what sounds dramatic is one of many topics that I want to talk about. So first of all, to my new subscribers, welcome to my channel. Since the last Duck Talks, it should be a weekly series, but it's like 2 months since the last one, and it is where I talk about certain bigger aspects of War Thunder, not just vehicle based or just looking at one specific nation or one specific playstyle. No, this is covering the greater topics of War Thunder, and I think it's long overdue that I do this, especially since the new year 2019 has just begun. And that is basically what Duck Talks is. So I hope you enjoy it. Grab a beer, take some popcorn, and enjoy the show. So first of all, naming the topics. First of all, first topic is why I have to reduce a little bit the amount of content that I will put out over the course of the next few weeks. Then Let Them Fight in Tank RB, which is the separation of the binding of the United Kingdom to the USA in terms of teams, and actually let them actively fight each other, and why this is a good thing and why this brings new, how should I say, experience into the gameplay. Then a look back, 2018, what has significantly changed, on my channel, and how this has affected me. The next thing is look out into 2019, what basically is about to come, with some very interesting topics. And then obviously why we should keep veteran players attracted to the game, and why the game itself profits from that. And then at the very end, obviously, questions from last year's Duck Talk number 61. So without further ado, let's go right into it. Over the course of my YouTube career, I actually was always interested in pushing out videos on nearly a daily basis. But at some point you just can't keep the quality in terms of gameplay or overall the topic, the narration, the commentary, whatever you want to call it. And I think the more subs I get, the more I'm not forced, but I want to keep the content. And I think daily video output is not really necessary to just get the views or the subscribers. I think better made videos about the more interesting vehicles is more important, and it is also a finer video to watch if I have more time to gather interesting footage, even more experience, and talk to more people about the vehicle in question. And so the real reason why I cannot continue the daily output is also that real life hits hard. And so it is, over the course of the next few weeks, not possible to upload on a daily basis. But whenever possible, whenever I had a funny game or a funny situation, or something very interesting happens within War Thunder, new patch, whatever, then obviously I will cover it if I can. So maybe a video every second day. I think that is still good enough. You recognized, some of my long-term subs really recognized that I had more and more gaps in there. So now I want to make it official that I still want to make daily content, but I will sacrifice a video for hopefully better quality, better English, better editing, and better gameplay hopefully as well. So, and I think that brings us now to the next topic, which is Let Them Fight. What I mean specifically is letting the Americans fight the British and the British fight the Americans, at least in Tank RB. While it is already a possibility in Air RB, especially on the map Preparation for the Landing on Hokkaido, and also in mixed battles, it is very, very uncommon. I at least cannot remember the last time that I have seen it outside of from a mixed battle, that the Americans fought the British and the other way around. Now there are a lot of very interesting, how should I call it, topics that arise from this. Specifically when suddenly, especially the primary example being battle rating 6.7, where the Americans suddenly get access to really great heavy tanks, and also a lot of funny, very fast, mostly heat spending light tanks or very fast tanks get access to them. The British, on the other hand, get access to the fantastic 20-pounder, and then more problems will become apparent. First of all, the Americans, how they should face an enemy that shoots APDS and AP with the buff, with a high rate of fire and a stabilizer, but how should then the British actually deal with the very fast American tanks that just flank them very hard. So then the inequalities between those allies actually become apparent, and maybe it is then the Germans who just grab the popcorn and just watch the ongoing struggle with some sort of amusement, and then can say, well, I told you. Next to actually the Italians, the Japanese, and also to a certain degree the Russians, to be honest. So that would be a very interesting fight. So maybe then we also can see the fight in the air, the CAS and the anti-CAS role, because currently the Americans and the British together have one of the greatest selections of ground pounders and actual fighters in the air to suppress enemy CAS. So to let them fight might be a bit of neutralization of CAS without buffing SPA. And at higher tiers, well, it will become really nasty for the challengers and even more challenging for the chieftains when they have to fight the XM1 and also the Abraham spam. So that will be impressive in terms of what then the British nation has to say about this experience, while currently they profit from never fighting against them but fighting with them. So just to say this, now this might be very, very unpopular in other regions of the world as an opinion to let them fight, but honestly I think it's really strange that especially in the period of the World War II era that the Germans and the Russians are allies versus the Americans and the British. It would be quote-unquote more historically accurate to let them fight, okay, to let the Americans fight the British, because there was nearly a war between the British and the Americans before the Second World War. Very interesting story. So that brings us then to 2018. To be honest, it was a great year, and I have to thank multiple people for having part of the success. And you will not believe it, but thank you, Gaijin. Yeah, really. Thank you, Gaijin, and your PR department for, well, sponsoring me with the newest vehicles, test drives for them, access to the various different betas for ships and helicopters, and also the Italian ground forces, you name it. Whenever something new came into the game, I got access. Yes, I was a bit stressing, Gaijin here, sending emails for requests all the time, and I want this and that. But on the other hand, I always guess I delivered videos on those requested vehicles, and this is actually the main purpose of being part of the Gaijin partnership program, because then my subscribers can see the latest stuff and what I personally think about it, regardless of where the vehicles came from or the access. So I think it is a win-win situation for not just me and Gaijin but also the subscribers, because then they can make their own mind up if it's actually going worth spending money on this premium tank vehicle package or the access in the first place to a certain project of Gaijin. So I think this is a good thing. If you don't think so, let me know why. So, and then also in this year, from the 1st of January 2018 to the 1st of January of 2019, I went from 6.9 thousand subscribers to 16.2, so gaining way above 9,000 subscribers, and I think this is great. So thank you all guys for staying with me, for enduring my rambling and my rants and all this. I try to get better, but at least I'm honest and still passionate about the game. So maybe the rants will continue. But the next thing is a big shout out to, again, Syphon Signal for rebranding my channel with all the cool fancy intros and the channel banner and a lot of tips and tricks. The same goes for Oryx for giving me a new flavor with the thumbnails. and yeah, explaining a few tips and tricks to me, and the other way around to both guys. We had some nice funny conversations. I know that I actually demanded a lot from you guys, but I hope it paid off for you. The next thing is, what do you guys think about the cooperation with Drakini? So this is also something that happened in 2018, and I love to do this once in a while as well, to talk about the development of historical weapon systems. Currently we already made torpedoes and mines, so you might want to have a look at this. Some upcoming projects are there as well, and I think this is great. He's also part in my ship reviews with his 5-minute guides. So Drakini actually was a bit sick over the course of the last few weeks, so this is why there were no ship reviews, because I think it's highly interesting to hear a little bit about the historical background and their careers of the said ships. Yeah, and then we also obviously had the changes in War Thunder with all the cool stuff that went into the game. Supersonic jets, more modern stuff, helicopters, new maps, and new game modes. Even ships found their introduction into the beta right now. And I think this just shows what Gaijin is capable of delivering. They just have to balance it and to refine the system, and as well introduce some sort of quality control. So that is actually a bit of a wish towards Gaijin. So this happened in 2018. Yeah, it was a successful year. YouTube is, despite all the negative comments and insults that I get from time to time, overwhelmingly positive and amazing, and I love to do this. And again, I hope you appreciate it, that I do it mostly for free, and the most of you have still your ad blocker activated. I do not collect money in any way, shape or form through merchandise or through not PayPal, yeah, but also Patreon. So I mostly do it for free, and a lot of you appreciate this, and thank you that you guys appreciate it. I mean, a lot of you do it, but those who make actually the comments are the only one that I can read, and so thank you for your positive feedback. If you don't like something about my videos, my style or anything like this, you're free to comment it in the comment section as well. I do not censor it, despite some strange beliefs otherwise. I censor insults. When I get insulted as a Nazi and all those funny names, then I just don't think that this is appropriate for the channel, and that is just something that I don't want to read. And I think none of my subs is interested in reading this either, at least those with half a brain. And yeah, so this is the only thing that I have to criticize here a little bit. I know it's the internet, but guys, please behave, at least some of you. Then, what will come in 2019? Well, again, I named it maybe a little bit of less ranting. Maybe I find a bit more enjoyment in the game if I don't play it like 24/7. 30 days a month. That's a bit exaggerating, of course, but it's close to. Then the next thing is, I still want to continue the reviews about tank, planes and ships. Then maybe some other cooperations with some other YouTubers. There is one YouTuber in particular that I try to do a cooperation with, and he tries to do it with me as well. He was actually coming towards me, but due to technical difficulties, and also then he doesn't have time and I don't have time, this didn't work in over 2 years. Can you imagine? 2 years. Yeah, that is actually quite dramatic. Then you might be amused to hear that I try to get more into chats. Funnily enough, I think they are fun for all of you that don't watch chats or my chat gameplay or my flying around in the near vicinity of the enemy team and killing a few of them once in a while, gameplay style. Yeah, I think chats are interesting, fun, and I think this is now for me personally the time to go into. Then I hope that we will see bigger ships in War Thunder. If Gaijin is unable to balance lower tiers, which would be a real shame, then at least we can go towards bigger ships and at least have them in the game. I'd love to shoot some 11-inch guns or shells around. Yeah, the next thing is the 4K rendering. Personally, I'd love to do this with every single video. It just enhances the quality. Even if you watch it at lower resolution, it just is then even better to watch. It's just a bit finer. And I still want to do this whenever this is possible, but when I have little time, when it is urgent that I need to get the video rendered quickly, when it is about some urgent news or something like this, then I will fall back to quote-unquote only full HD. And now the big hammer is the internet got better. So it might be a possibility, and I'm not promising it in any way, shape or form, that at some point in 2019 I might consider streaming on Twitch. Yes. So that would be then really amazing that you see the difference from my average game to when it actually works, when my plans work, and I actually manage to get a decent game. So that would be really cool to see for you guys, as well as getting your feedback and then learning by some of you that even bother to give me some more tips and tricks. Because I think nobody's perfect, everybody can improve here and there, and that then will be really fun, I imagine, as at least if you guys are willing to watch at some point. When it's going to happen, well, probably not in the next few months, because again, there are too many projects in the way that I actually can lean back and share my time with you. So that then brings me on to the next topic, and that is why we need to retain the players, the old players, the senior veterans of War Thunder, for numerous reasons. Because I think a lot of people are interested and excited about this huge project that War Thunder is. And we can all agree that War Thunder has a bit of this cash grab mentality that I don't want to see with projects in the past, like the IS-6 and the T-29. When they were first introduced, they were undoubtedly not proven. They were just simply bugged or deliberately programmed to overperform in terms of armor and survivability. You might want to dispute this, but this was just how it was. And I think that brought a negative reputation towards Gaijin, aside from their other shenanigans, like raising the prices before the Steam sales and then dropping them like 2 years ago, something like this. And so Gaijin needs a better reputation to bring more players to this game, because this keeps the servers alive, this brings more money towards Gaijin, and I think another essential part to the success of War Thunder are veteran players. Now, if you do not fix bugs, if you do not care about the game and the stuff that is in the game for quite a while, then a lot of people that have spent months, if not years, playing the game will get bored. And I think there is enough potential in War Thunder to keep those people excited. Yes, the one person just wants to play the game once in a while, but there are enough people that just are fed up with the game not working. Currently we have the micro freezes that are super frustrating. When you pull the trigger, nothing happens, and or your shell just misses because you just got freeze while leading. Numerous examples, or a weapon system overperforming, or so many other stuff that is not working in the game, and then those experienced players wander off. So you have less people that care about playing in a clan or leading a clan. You have less people interested in esports. You have less people that just have the experience in the game and want to actually then start a YouTube channel like me. It might be a minority, but I think a lot of people have been actually pushed away from War Thunder in the past. Look at the Mighty Chingles, look at Sidestrafe, look at Bismarck, and also obviously Quickie Baby. I think if Gaijin would not have failed in the past and would have valued the experienced players, then a lot of the stuff that is wrong with War Thunder would not happen. And so I also think that we should bring back more rewards for those players. For instance, currently players are not valued for logging in daily. Yes, the login bonus increases, and then it resets after I don't know how many days. But I am now, as you might have seen in the past, way above my 1,350 days, and it's just a bit frustrating that we don't see here the appropriate steps towards, well, giving at least the players the feeling that there is something special. I'm not talking here about golden eagles or premium time, but maybe a rather rare premium vehicle at rank 1 or 2 as a compensation for logging in for 500 days, 1,000 days even, you know, but nothing like this. The only thing that you really get is a badge. The only thing that you really get is a badge for logging in 1 year, 3 years, and 5 years continuously. And I think that is a bit of a shame, okay? So this would be cool. Then we need more access to war bonds, we need more access to silver line and research point boosters to make the grind in this ever-growing game more accessible. I think the system is a bit overstretched. If you have to grind through so many tanks per tier, so many planes per tier to unlock the next tier, and then the stock grind, and then another premium, and here and there. I know it makes a lot of money, but it is so exhausting, and especially in Tank RB, the income is still not great. So I think this is now also again a bit of a wish list, and we need to keep those players in the game that already are playing the game, and also maybe bring back some of the old veterans to give this game not just the feel of being an empty shell of just bashing your head against a grind wall, but actually being worth at the end something where you just can achieve something that you can be proud of without it getting devaluated in the near future anyway. I'm dead honest about this. So that now brings me to the last topic, and this is the questions from last year's Duck Talks number 61. The first question comes from Blue Cheese. Question: do you think that the Russian APC BC round is better than the APC BC round at 6.3 in medium tanks and SPGs, 7.3 heavy tanks? Are the APC BC better at highly angled armor as the stat card seems to claim? I think I remember you saying something different, not 100% sure. Okay, the difference between the two shell types is that the Russian APHE round, aka APHE BC round, is flat-nosed. That means it actually digs into the armor, heavily angled armor, and therefore penetrates armor platings that are rather thin but highly angled, where there is a decent chance that the round-headed APC BC round, which has mostly a bit more raw penetration value stats, would bounce. And I can give you an example. For instance, look at the Russian T-34-85 and its APC BC round and its APHE BC round. And the same goes here for the Tiger with its 88mm APC BC round. The thing is, if you both fight a Jumbo Sherman head-on, you actually will bounce with the German's 88 from the Tiger 1, even with the 165mm of raw penetration. And the same goes with the APC BC round from the Russian 85mm. But the second you load the APHE BC round, you have a fairly good chance of actually smashing through. And this is a result that you only have at that same ratio than with the Panther gun. And also, I think then the long 88 overtakes here the performance. But you see how much different it takes in terms of raw penetration power to actually achieve the same with an APC BC round compared to an APHE BC round. The same result is it actually if a Tiger shoots at a Tiger and a T-34-85 shoots a Tiger with the said rounds. Then it becomes apparent why the angling of a Tiger versus a Russian APHE BC round makes much less sense or is much less effective then compared to angling versus an AP CBC round? I hope I answered this question. And obviously they kind of somewhat work differently with their overmatch mechanics, but I have to look into this once again to maybe make a video or a guide about this. Godsky asks, question, what do you think is the biggest problem in War Thunder naval forces? Personally, I feel like it has great potential, but the ridiculousness of the spawns, locations of the caps, and really generally the capture game mode itself are all huge issues. Well, you named some of the problems, but I think it's the technological compression, the common dominance of especially aircraft that go into those suicide revenge kill runs. The next thing then are for many ships the insane repair costs, the general imbalance where you just cannot damage an enemy ship but it just chews through you like there is no tomorrow, and that happens from the difference between the various different destroyers, cruisers, patrol boats, you name it, at every single battle rating. Then there is this awful map design where in patrol boats you basically shoot each other the moment you come around the first corner of your cap, or even from cap to cap on African Gulf map. There are so many problems associated with the balance, the repair costs, the imbalance in terms of fighting capabilities, and also the map design. Those issues are equally important, and I think that is one of the reasons why I don't have as much fun as I think I could have if it would be balanced. And I have access to practically everything in the game, you know. It's just a handful of ships that are actually worth playing, but you have to heavily pay for it in terms of either ammunition costs or repair costs or both, and then you get killed anyway by a plane. So this is really annoying, and I think Gaijin should really come around to address this. Otherwise, you know, this game mode will sink into the meaninglessness. Perikoffers ask, question for next Duck Talk. Quack. Yes, indeed, the MK103 is much superior to the 37mm, and also bombs are no option. Please load the H-Rap round and you can put very effectively big holes into enemy planes, tanks and pillboxes. So I hope I answered that question. Ayobos asks the following. Hello Napalm, questions. Why helicopters are so cancerous sniping from 3 kilometers away? Why ships are so hard you get one-shotted while you get no kills? Do you play some other games not like Subnautica? Well, first of all, let's answer this in reverse order, like I have been taught by Drakinifel. I play other games, not just Subnautica, but also obviously World of Warships, and in the past I also played, I don't know, Crisis and Stronghold and Anno 1503 and games like this. But currently it's only War Thunder mostly. Maybe a little bit of World of Warships here and there with a normal friend of mine. And yeah, then why ships are so hard? You get one-shotted while you get no kills. Well, first of all, how to kill an enemy ship is always depending on what this enemy ship is. Is it an armored cruiser, a river patrol boat with armor? Is it you know, just something that can soak up your damage and where it has a very prominent ammo rack, or you have a very prominent ammo rack and you just come across a very knowledgeable player that instantly snipes this. So ships are not easy to get into and they are still in development, so there is still room to be discussed. Then, why helicopters are so cancerous sniping from 3 kilometers away? Well, basically, I think helicopters have the one problem that they are biased by Gaijin, simply because they are new and beta and blah blah blah, simply because they want to sell the helicopter packs. The problem is with those ATGMs, and if you read through the dev blogs of the Gepard and the Shilka and many other SBAs, then there is stated that their shells actually travel further than they do in War Thunder, where they just despawn after like 1.5 kilometers, 2 kilometers, so they don't have their advertised range. They never had this advertised range because they were introduced before you actually could reliably hit an enemy target at this range, where there was no radar in there and where there was no necessity to actually hit at these ranges. So currently I think this should be also addressed, but to be honest, I think the automatic is a very nice rebalancing factor for them, as I just stated in the most successful video that I've ever done. So I hope I answered this question. Then there was a very long and interesting and debatable question by Kat, and he just simply asks why I do not defend the German tanks, and namely he talks here about the Panthers and Tigers, and why I do not talk about them being nerfed. Well, I talked about them a lot in the past, and the simple fact is that it is mostly fun to not play them because they are power creeped, they are actually nerfed, and yes, the Tiger 2H has been significantly nerfed for a neglectable buff. We are talking here about the Amorak detonation in the back of the turret, which you now no longer can just empty. We're talking about the fuel tank detonation, even on the Diesel Tiger, and we are also talking here about other tanks that have stronger armor to withstand its 88, and in the meantime its armor itself does mean less and less, while there are more and more mobile and powerful tanks around it, and it just doesn't get compensated. So that is the very short form. Currently I'm just waiting for Gaijin to either decompress the game entirely in this battle rating region, which it desperately needs, like a general overhaul of the battle rating system, not the system but the battle rating numbers for the tanks. So I hope I answered this, and everybody that doubts the fact that the Tiger 2 was directly and indirectly nerfed, well, why don't you play it yourself off all day long? This is not coming from a Wearaboo or anything like this, but just play all other nations' tanks at this battle rating and just feel the difference throughout the battle. So that comes to the next question then. Joseph Stalin asks, at a certain time point or timestamp, what is 07? Well, that's basically the sign of saluting somebody. If somebody recognizes me in chat, if somebody recognizes me in the game in general and says hello Napalm or any way other of greeting, I mostly reply with 07, and this is the equivalent of saluting, and so that's the quickest way of answering somebody in a satisfying way, and also in a way where I think not a lot of people are doing it, despite overall it being common. So I hope I answered this question. I know this is not very common in Soviet Russia to honor your fellows, but I do it. Ken asks actually an answer that was in the meantime answered by Gaijin itself. What do you think about the addition of tier 6 jets? Gaijin will increase the actual battle rating limit up to 10.0. Yes, they have, but they have not really done anything against the current problems in terms of balance, performance, and stock to upgraded performance difference, as far as I'm aware. But you do not see that many up tiers with your 8.0 jets into 9.0 anymore, and that is a big relief, because now the 9.0 jets have to face a lot of the 10.0 jets. So in this way it kind of was a bit of a change and a bit of relief to the 8.0s, but this can be reset anytime when the players just are tired of the two supersonic jets. Do you think with the addition of many more tier 6 tanks, Gaijin will increase the actual battle rating limit to 11 or at least 10.7? No, we haven't seen this up to this point. I think it's still silly. I think we still get thrown stuff on top of this compressed pile, and the tanks at the bottom just have more and more problems. But it would be nice to see Gaijin actually doing something about this problem. So that's actually it with the questions, and that's it for the Duck Talks number 62 with the title Let Them Fight. So I was actually very thankful for your feedback, especially about the 4K thing. Most said it's not necessary, but they appreciate the effort, and just a few said that they actually want to see it in 4K. So I hope you don't mind the changes. It is only due to time. When I have enough time, when I have enough preparation, then I obviously try to actually make the videos in 4K. So that's it for me today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Please give this video a like if you did. Subscribe if you want to see more. If you have a question for next Duck Talks, just begin with question double point. And so it's easier for me to find your questions amongst the many comments that I hope to find under this video. So we'll see each other in the skies, on the battlefields, and on the waves of War Thunder.